What if one of the biggest reveals in the Cottage episode isn't actually a surprise at all? What if the shock isn't that Shane is gay or that he loves Ilya? What if the real shock is how he tried to explain it any other way? Because at this point in the story, the clues have been there for a very long time. The longing, the secrecy, the fear, the attachment, the love. And now the truth is getting harder and harder to rename, soften, or avoid. Welcome back to the Good Life Lab, where queer stories meet the science and psychology of a good life. Hi, I'm Dr. Dave. I'm a therapist, college professor, and positive psychology researcher turned YouTuber and content creator. If you haven't already, if you would, please subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. It really helps me to know that I'm doing the right thing. So please subscribe if you would. And today I'm going to reveal 3 more Cottage clues. So we've been in this series of going from 33 down to 1, the number 1 reveal. And I'm going through kind of each scene in the Cottage episode, almost line by line. And I found 33, maybe you've seen more. And it's not just kind of surprise to the audience, but surprise to each other, to express their love for each other, surprise to the parents, those kinds of things. So we're on clue number 9 revealed. So this is a scene where Ilya and Shane show up to his parents' house and they begin to talk about their relationship and being gay. What's funny about this scene is Shane is saying that he not only does not hate Ilya like his parents think, he actually loves him. And so that's a big reveal too, I think, even to themselves, that they're beginning to find this love for each other and express it, but also obviously to the parents. And then this is so powerful because it's naming something very specific that has been twisting around in Shane for a long time. A couple scenes before, in bed at night, they revealed that they actually love each other. And so this is not too long after that, where they talk to the parents and they're kind of confessing for the first time their love for one another. And once Shane confesses that, admits that out loud to somebody else besides Ilya, the emotional logic of everything else starts coming into focus for all of them. The rivalry, the pull, the fear, the inability to let this relationship go. This is no longer fantasy, no longer intensity, or even just passion. It's honest attachment, and now it's being named for what it really is. And I think this idea of this relationship going beyond passion and intensity to attachment really resonates with a lot of people. Sometimes the biggest reveal in our lives isn't that we feel something new. It's that we finally tell the truth about something we've been feeling for a very long time. And that's what's going on with Ilya and Shane in this scene where they talk to the parents for the first time. All right, clue reveal number 8 on our countdown to number 1. I titled this reveal, Shane's Parents Already Knew. This reveal is interesting and also maybe affirming for those of us who have come out to our parents in our lives, because it's not a surprise to Shane's parents that he's coming out. They already had a strong inkling that something was going on with him. The surprise really was that he was hooking up with Ilya, his rival, and that he also loves him. And like I said, for those who come out to our parents, this scene resonates with me because my parents, it's interesting because my parents, when I first came out to them, I was early 20s, and I remember coming home after college and asking them if I could talk to them, and then we sat down in their living room or family room the next day, and I just told them that I liked men. And my mom was trying to convince me that I wasn't seeing things accurately and saying that maybe you feel this way just because you don't have a girlfriend right now. And so I said, no, that's not the case. And it was more serious for me because I was trying to change. I didn't want to be gay, and I was trying to change it. And I would go on to try to change it for 20 more years. So it was a little different for me. But I think most parents and people have a sense that there's something going on. In high school, I know that going back after high school, most people thought there might be something going on with me because I was on the soccer team and popular in many ways, but I just never dated. And so there was this rumor going around that I didn't know at the time that I was gay. So people know, they know what's going on, like Shane's parents knew about them. But it is very complicated to own that yourself and to express that for the very first time, or even over years. I mean, even it took me a long time to just be able to say I'm gay, even though that's how I was feeling. I didn't want to say that word as this is who I am. And it helped to do that over time. So I know it's complicated for a lot of people and it gets confusing. And so if you are somebody in this situation that's still trying to process coming out, trying to confess or admit that you have these feelings for men, please reach out to me. You can find my contact information in the description below. I'd love to walk with you as you go through this journey of coming out and trying to accept these parts of yourself that I know it's confusing and frustrating and bewildering to walk through this journey on your own. So please reach out if you want somebody else to walk with you on this journey and somebody who's been there before. I'd love to join with you and just walk with you on that journey. Okay, that brings us to the last clue in this episode that I'm going to talk about today, and I've titled it, They've Been Hooking Up Since Before Rookie Season. So this is a surprise to Shane's parents. Not that he's gay, they kind of figured that out, but that they've been hooking up since before rookie season. So they would have been, I don't know, maybe 18, 19, when they had their first hotel intimate encounter, back in the first episode. So this matters because it shows how long the truth has been building. This isn't sudden, it isn't impulsive, and it's not a random detour. This is a story with a lot of history, 10 years at this point, and that really changes how we interpret everything. Because now we see not just a relationship, but a long-term pattern. A repeated return, repeated attachment, repeated secrecy, and a repeated inability to let go and to move on to somebody else. And that's part of why the truth is so undeniable at this point. It has endured. This part of the cottage episode makes me think of this psychological truth of misnaming our own lives. When something is true, but we keep calling it something smaller, something safer, something less threatening perhaps, it usually doesn't disappear. It creates a strain, an internal conflict. We can say it's just rivalry, it's just sex, it's just a phase, it's just stress, it's just too complicated. But when the same person, the same pattern, the same longing keeps returning, it becomes harder to honestly call it accidental. And this is one place where therapy and positive psychology can be so helpful. They invite us to pay attention to patterns without shaming us for those patterns, because really clarity doesn't come all at once. As somebody who's been in therapy for years on and off, but also as a therapist, that's clearly true. Revelation comes in stages and phases, in bits and pieces, not all at once. Revelation, the truth, comes from noticing what repeats, noticing patterns, and eventually admitting, acknowledging what those patterns point to. So let me ask you, as we begin to wrap up, what truth in your life have you been calling something else? Because the real name feels too big, too risky, too disruptive to say out loud. Maybe it's about love. Maybe it's about your identity. Maybe it's about a dream, a desire, a calling that you feel is coming that you're too afraid to face. So if you notice these patterns or kind of see repeated things happening and you maybe are avoiding them a little bit, just notice that. You don't have to do anything with it right now. Just notice. Because those things you notice, those repeated patterns, could be clues to what your life is calling you to next. So in summary of what this part of the cottage episode reveals is that some truths don't appear all at once. They build, they repeat, they deepen, they endure, and eventually they stop being possible to explain away. That's what happens here. Shane doesn't hate Ilya. He loves him. His parents already knew more than he thought, and their story has been unfolding far longer than anyone really wanted to admit. But that might be an invitation for all of us to notice what has been true in our life for a long time, even if we've been calling it something smaller. Because sometimes the clue isn't new. Sometimes it's old enough that you can't keep pretending it doesn't mean anything. So today we explored the revelations within the cottage rivalries, the rivalry between Shane and Ilya, the resolution that happened there, and the rivalry that happened between Shane and Ilya and Shane's parents, and the resolution there. But in my experience, the most heated rivalry has been the ones from within, the ones we fight within, the one I've fought within myself. In these scenes from the cottage episode, we see Shane finally find some safety within his relationships with Ilya, with his parents, within himself. But this Friday, in a newly released episode of my AI-enhanced Shadow Longings memoir, it's a lot to say, I'm taking you back to a place in my story where there was still a lot of rivalry going on within me.
But inside, I was unraveling. You were already being a fool. Not because I had feelings for John, because I was driving away from them as though that were the holiest response available. I swallowed. I think I need to go back. I was feeling called toward another man. I pressed the heels of my hands into my eyes. I don't know what to do, I said.
Join me for Chapter 1 of Shadow Longings, Desires and Conflict. It's a look at trying to find your North Star when every map you've been given is pointing the wrong direction. If you've ever felt caught between who you are and who you want to be, join me this Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Let's walk through the shadows together. So thank you for joining me today. If this episode touched you in any way, or even if it didn't, please subscribe if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate it if you would. All right, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.